Test a variety of technologies, systems, and materials that will be needed for future long-duration exploration missions. Every mission yields critical research and learnings that help make life both on Earth and in space better. And flights like today's help us continue to lay this foundation for our future among the stars and continue our mission to make life multiplanetary.
But for now, we'll be signing off from SpaceX, and we're going to send you back over to NASA. But before we go, we do want to thank NASA for entrusting us with today's mission. And of course, thank you to all of the viewers for being here with us today.
Yeah, it was a really special mission. It was fantastic to see now 2 new crew members in orbit and on the way to the International Space Station. So with that, we're going to end our coverage from Hawthorne until we pick back up with our docking coverage in about 26 hours. So for now, we're going to send it back to you, Zena and Daryl at Kennedy Space Center to wrap up today's launch coverage.
Atticus, welcome back here to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where just about 25 minutes ago we watched Super 9 lift off from Space Launch Complex 40 for the first time with humans at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. NASA astronaut Nick Hague and Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gorbanov are now en route to the International Space Station. I'm Daryl Nail, and this is NASA astronaut Zena Carvin, who has been with us for the past 4 hours, documenting Crew 9's path from astronaut crew quarters, suiting up all the way to the rocket, lifting off and getting into space. And I got to watch it with Zena in this role. I get to watch oftentimes as we break, go outside and watch launch with the astronaut. And in this particular case, Zena, with you being the commander from the beginning, and then giving up your seat, you and fellow astronaut Stephanie Wilson, so that those seats could be used by Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams to come back. This has a very close association to you. Clearly. What was your reaction there when you were watching that lift off into space?
Yeah, Daryl, I think every crewed launch that I have ever watched has really brought me a lot of emotion. This one today was especially unique. I think it was hard not to watch that rocket lift off without thinking, that's my rocket and that's my crew. But I also know that I'm not the only person who can think that. Of course, we have Stephanie Wilson here today, but I mean, there are many, many people who made this mission happen, and there are people on orbit who will be taking this capsule home. And it makes me very proud to know that I am one of many people who can say, that's my crew, that's my rocket. It makes me really proud, makes me feel very connected to this mission that we all get to take part of. Go Crew 9.
Well said, Zena. And an emotional moment in time out there watching the rocket lift off. And now the work begins. You will start training for.
In the meantime, I can't wait to watch Nick and Alexander and the entire Expedition 72 crew really get to work and execute that mission that we all have worked so hard to make possible.
Yeah, Nick and Alexander will become part of Expedition 72, as you mentioned, when they arrive on Space Station. NASA's Megan Cruz has joined us now with Jennifer Buckley, the chief scientist for the ISS program, with more about the science that's happening on board for Expedition 72. Megan.
Yeah, it's great to have Jen here. And Jen, obviously we saw some changes through the mission, most notably the change from a forward with two-person crew. Did any changes affect the science?
Well, the human research is specific to the crew member. So Butch and Sunny have their science complement that will stay with them. But other than that, we didn't have to adjust our science plans. Butch and Sunny are experienced crew members, so they jumped right in and have been helping us already with science on board, and we were able to keep our main complement.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I know Expedition 72, they're going to be responsible for making a repair on the NICER instrument on the space station. Can you tell us about that instrument, its significance?
That's right. So NICER is an X-ray telescope that's mounted outside of the International Space Station, and it takes a look at neutron stars. Neutron stars are born from the cinders of a supernova event. They are the leftover material that then form neutron stars, and they're going to be repairing a light leak that occurred in May of 2023, which gave us some degraded detectors on that instrument.
Okay, gotcha. And so that's what we're fixing so that hopefully it works tip-top shape.
That's right. So right now with the damage, we still get full data during darkness. However, during sunlight, it degrades the data that we're able to get. And so when they do that repair in December, we'll bring NICER back up to its full capability.
Okay, well, obviously we as NASA look out into the universe, but also we look back at our own Earth. And for those who don't know, one way that we do that and look at our Earth is we have our astronauts take photos from the International Space Station. And I was told that more photos were taken from the ISS of Earth in the last 6 months than all of 2023.
That's right. So in the first 6 months of 2024, they took over 330,000 photographs.
Oh my gosh.
So, this photography, apart from being absolutely beautiful, is really important science imagery, as you mentioned before. This allows us to take a look at our planet. We can see how it's changing over time, as well as any environmental impacts. We also support the Disaster Response Network. So we're able to look at natural disasters like wildfires or even hurricanes. So we were involved in taking some imagery of Hurricane Helene as well. We support other government agencies and provide that data.
Yeah, it's always so important to talk about, yes, the work that we do as we look out into the universe, but also as we reflect here on Earth and see what we can do to improve. of things for everyone. So Jen, thank you so much. Thanks for detailing the science for us. We'll send it back to our folks there.
All right, thank you very much, Megan, and good to be back with you here with NASA astronaut Zena Cardman. We are wrapping up our coverage for today after a successful launch of Crew 9. But before we do, I want to know if you take one more social question.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Let's put it up for us. This is, let's see, Maya, age 10, asks, I want to know, because I want to work there, how is it to work at NASA? I want to be an aerospace engineer when I grow up.
That is awesome. Maya, we can't wait to have you in the NASA family. It's an amazing place to work. I love working in spaceflight, human spaceflight especially, and there's so many different types of people with different backgrounds who work. I love that we can all come together for this common goal coming from such different backgrounds. So all you've got to do is apply, and we'll see you soon.
As a young girl yourself, you probably never imagined that you would be here,
I sure did not.
and you made it happen as well.
That's right. Myself, but most especially all of the mentors and family and friends who made me who I am. It takes a team.
Well said, Zena. Now, as we wrap things up, we want to let you know that though our coverage is coming to a close, you can still follow along with Crew 9's entire journey to the station by listening to the mission real-time audio commentary. Just to do that, you can snap that QR code that you see on the screen there, or if you're watching us on your phone, just screen grab it and you can click on it later. Nick and Alexander are on course to arrive at the International Space Station around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, September 29th. On-camera coverage of docking and arrival will resume about 2 hours before that happens on NASA Plus. And of course, that's always a big moment when the crew arrives, especially not just for the people who are going there, that's their destination, but for the people who get to see them as well.
Absolutely. It's a really joyful moment. I love few things more than I love watching astronauts fresh through that hatch, hugging each other and welcoming their new crewmates. It's an amazing thing to see.
And there's 3 of them if you count this little guy right here, which you brought on board.
That's right.
This was the zero-G indicator.
That's exactly right, and I absolutely love the history that the zero-G indicator has for Nick Hague specifically, and I'm sure Alexei Ovchinin will be happy to be reunited with that zero-G indicator as well. So, getting the band back together.
Seems like it's a good luck charm at this point.
It seems that way.
Well, Zena, I want to thank you for co-hosting with me today. I know it was a challenge. It was emotional at times, but thank you for sharing your insight, your experiences, your knowledge, and most of all, your heart. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Daryl. Go Crew 9.
Go Crew 9. All right, with that, we're going to wrap it up and wish you a great day. An important reminder, though, about an upcoming launch in a few weeks here at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida on October 10th at 12:31 p.m. Europa Clipper scheduled to lift off aboard a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket on its 5.5-year journey to Jupiter's moon, Europa. Watch it live right here on NASA Plus starting at 11:30 a.m. Again, huge thanks to all of our guests, for everyone who joined us today. But most importantly, we appreciate you for being here and watching. You can keep up with any Crew 9 updates to the mission using the online resources you see on your screen now. For everyone here at NASA and SpaceX, have a great rest of the day. Look forward to seeing you again soon. But we leave you now with a moment looking back at the highlights from Suit Up to Lift Off.
So it's great to see Nick Hague and Alexander Gorbanov here in suits that are looking good.
There's Shannon Walker, the 2 crew members, laying out the rules to a card game. Crew 9 leaving the suit-up room and now on the move inside astronaut crew quarters. Nick Hague, commander of Crew 9, is crewmate Alexander Gorbanov.
So we'll have a chance here to say a few words with those who are closest to them.
So we began a roughly 20-minute drive with full security escort across NASA's Kennedy Space Center.
You can see them doing the SpaceX flight suit lean back.
Walking the crew access arm.
Crew heavy grip capsule.
Side hatch is closed.
3, 2, 1, ignition. Full power. And liftoff of Crew 9. Go SpaceX, go Falcon, go NASA.
Liftoff of Crew 9, now soaring to the International Space Station.
2, 1,
our sound suppression technique, our rockets are super loud, and that sound can impart pressure loads back on the rocket itself. So just before liftoff, you'll see a ton of water dumping onto the pad. This absorbs and prevents the sound from hitting the structure and reverberating back onto the rocket, which could cause damage.
Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling.
Dragon is countdown. Now that we're in countdown, the flight computer on Dragon will switch to countdown mode. And we've also heard the flight
Freedom,
termination
SpaceX.
system is armed.
Go for launch.
Freedom is go for launch.
That's our final go for launch. SpaceX reporting go and the crew reporting
United
go.
States, second. Second.
Standing by for the first launch of
10,
humans
9,
from Space Launch Complex 40.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Full power. And liftoff of Crew 9. Go SpaceX. Go Falcon. Go NASA.
Liftoff of Crew 9 now soaring to the International Space
This
Station.
is 1 Alpha.
Stage 1 full power. Copy 1 Alpha.
Those 9 Merlin engines now providing 1.7 million pounds of thrust, propelling Falcon 9 and Crew 9 and continuing to get good calls from teams here on the ground.
Of course, these incredible views mean we are just a little bit past 30 minutes or 30 seconds into our 9th rotational crew mission
Power. Telemetry nominal.
on board Dragon and Falcon 9 with good callouts for mission control that everything is looking good. With that, stage 1 is throttling down to pass through max Q, which is the period of maximum dynamic pressure on Falcon 9 during ascent.
Max Q.
Confirmation of max Q,
Vehicle is supersonic.
and that Falcon 9 is now traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Stage 1 throttle.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy 1 Bravo.
That call out for 1 Bravo means we're in the second and final board mode for the first stage and continuing to get good performance.
And back chill is underway.
Crew is pulling just over 2 Gs at this point. Next up, we heard the engine chill on the second stage in-back engine has begun, and then we will have MECO, or main engine cutoff, where the 9 engines on the first stage will cut off ahead of the first and the second stages, and then will separate from one another. Then that single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite, continue to carry Crew 9 to orbit while the first stage begins its journey back to Earth. Two minutes in, and the crew is now traveling over 2,600 miles per hour.
Stage 1 is throttling down.
Confirmation there from mission control that stage 1 is throttling down as we prepare for main engine cutoff, followed shortly thereafter by stage separation and second engine stir 1. You did hear mission control out that we are chilling our
MECO.
There's confirmation of MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stage 2 Alpha.
And back ignition. Copy 2 Alpha.
With that, we have had confirmation of MECO, stage SEP, and the ignition of our MVAC engine on board stage 2. Our next major milestone is going to be the beginning of stage 1 boost back burn, which is expected in just a couple of seconds here. Of course, if you are just joining us, you've got views of our first stage on the left-hand side of your screen and of MVAC burning with our Crew 9 astronauts aboard up in space on the right-hand side of your screen.
Now we are coming up on 3 minutes and 20 seconds since liftoff today, traveling over 4,000 miles per hour at 76 miles downrange.
As our first stage makes its way back to Earth, we are tracking a landing attempt today at landing zone 1, not too far from where we lifted off in Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Confirmation there that both vehicles are on nominal trajectories. Everything is looking good.
And we're getting good performance on that single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. The crew's G-load dips right now. We are going to prepare to hit the separation event. Right now they're about 1 G, which is about what we're used to experiencing on Earth. Crew is traveling almost 5,000 miles per hour now and 105 miles in altitude.
As we await the entry burn for our first stage, you are getting great views of it on the left-hand side of your screen. You can also see 2 of our titanium grid fins, which are the primary mechanical structures.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Confirmation there from Mission Control that everything is still looking good.
Freedom copy, nominal trajectory.
Now, as I mentioned, those grid fins are the primary mechanical structures that we use to steer the booster back toward its landing zone, which today is LZ1 at Cape Canaveral. Just as kind of a quick point of reference, those grid fins are about 4 by 5 feet, so roughly the size of a coffee table. Getting our first tracking shots of the booster on its way back to Earth. Again, we are tracking the first stage on the left-hand side of your screen and MVAC up in space on the right.
And we do continue to hear good calls for that second stage. Again, we will see this continue to fire until close to 9 minutes into the flight, now at 5 minutes and 45 seconds since liftoff today. This is accelerating Dragon to more than 17,000.
Nominal trajectory.
More good news.
Freedom copy, nominal trajectory.
This second stage is bringing Dragon to more than 17,000 miles per hour. That puts our crew in orbit. The single Merlin vacuum engine can produce over 220,000 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of space.